Tonight on Podcast Them Down, Santa's back.
Podcast Them Down.
Hail Metal Nation! It is our annual Christmas episode where we interview Santa Claus. Turns out he's really busy this time of year, but
it's really hard to catch me, Timothy.
We were able to get him. So it's me, Tim, of course, and joining us is Doug, of course.
Hello.
And the aforementioned Santa Claus. Santa, how's it going this year?
Oh, kind of rough, Timothy. I mean, I feel like everything's coming in late. I mean, what is it, almost Christmas time, and people haven't sent their letters to Santa or their emails. We still are way behind on orders. Like, I have the elves working like 14 hours a day and 17 hours a night, and yet they still haven't made enough toys for the good girls and boys and the kind of middling ones, you know, just in case they get their act together. They haven't made all the bombs and poison for the bad ones. Like, we might just have to end up giving them nothing instead of, you know, the punishments that we usually dole out. So I'm kind of stressed, Timothy. It makes someone like Santa feel, you know, like he's doing a bad job. Not in a naughty way, but just in a stressed way.
All right. Okay. Well, did you want to talk about the new It's a Death Metal Xmas album? Did you want to get that out of the way? Or do
what, Timothy?
Hold on. I want to know what Santa has against this great city of Detroit.
That's a good question.
That's a great question, Doug. I appreciate you going all the way to Detroit to make that point. I really honestly don't have much against Detroit. It's really, you need to be asking, what do the people of Detroit have against Santa Claus? I mean, there are very naughty cities like Philadelphia, Utica, and Fresno, you know, obviously naughty cities. But some cities like Detroit, like, even if they're nice in the old ticker here, you know, they just can't help but doing naughty things. And so Santa kind of has to play both sides of the aisle. You know, I can't reward cities like Detroit in the same way I'd reward nice cities, you know, like Poughkeepsie, St. Cloud. You know, those are some pretty damn nice cities. So I can't go all the way, but I also kind of have to give them some incentive so they'll try and be a little less naughty next year.
Would you say Detroit's one of the naughtier cities in the country?
I mean, no. I mean, for a big city, yeah. But
all right, well, give us the bottom three. Okay, the most naughty cities.
The naughtiest cities? Are we talking about like
in the United States?
Okay, well, obviously the naughtiest city is Washington, D.C. for lots of political reasons, but not the ones you would think. All right, number two, naughty city is Seattle. And then the number three naughty city, I'm sad to say, is Albuquerque, New Mexico.
All right, well, you know, Detroit's not in the bottom three, so I suppose that's good.
It's in the bottom 18.
All right, can I throw out some countries and you tell me which city is one of the naughty ones?
Okay, that shouldn't be too difficult.
All right, Canada.
Which
is where I believe you're a resident, correct?
Timothy, you just named the naughtiest country. I mean, like, that's asking, like, which part of a dog's poop is the most delicious. I can't really choose. That's like asking which pointy reindeer point is the pointiest, or which part of a sad little elf's sad little face is the saddest. I mean, Canada's just naughty, naughty, naughty. And then there's Winnipeg, which is somehow naughtier still.
All right. How about Ireland?
Ireland is actually a fairly nice country. You know, up north was a little naughty for a while. And then Galway is kind of naughty, but in a fun way. Like, hey, let's go do some naughty things. And Ulster's pretty nice, and Londonderry's nice, and Dublin, Connaught, or however they say it, that's like not so nice, but it's not naughty either. Oh yeah, so I'd say it's about a middle of the road place with some middle of the road cities.
So what place is naughty here? Dundalk, Ireland, or Dundalk, Maryland?
Well, I'm sad to say it, but depending on who won that toilet bowl is really deciding the answer. So if they won, then they're less naughty. And if they didn't, then they're more naughty. And that goes back to an old treaty that Santa Claus actually invented the toilet bowl to prevent all the naughty boys and girls of Essex and Dundalk from fighting. So it really depends on how they feel, whether or not that, toilet factory is in their town.
So you know all about the toilet bowl. Huh?
Oh, I mean, I invented the toilet bowl, Timothy. And in fact, I also invented the bowl toilet. When you're a large gentleman like Santa Claus, you can't hover over a hole in the ground. It's also freezing.
All right. Well, let's come back to more countries.
All right.
How about Belgium?
Belgium. Well, let's just put it like this. Every year, Santa's flying over the North Sea, and he's gone to Scandinavia and Britain and Scotland, and then it's time to hit the continent. And Santa has two choices. Three, really. You can go to France, or you can go to Amsterdam in the Netherlands, or you can go to Belgium. And of those options, A for Amsterdam, B for Belgium, or C for Calais, Santa's only used A and C for about 150 years. Pretty naughty.
Right. Well, let's talk about our album. Let's get the album promotion out of the way.
Okay, that's naughty. Kind of selfish, Timothy.
Thank you. Well, I want to check the bucks. So there's a new.
Wait, hold on. Santa's got you. Oh wait, I can't do that anymore, Timothy.
It's a death metal Xmas album coming out hopefully December 21st, the solstice.
Oh, and, yeah, that's Santa's birthday.
Is it?
It is. That's a fact. I mean, I'm sorry if that sounds weird, but yeah, Santa was born on December 21st.
Oh,
and
well,
it kind of makes me sad that I always have to work so hard and can't even take the day off. And that's one of the reasons Santa's grumpy.
I pulled up some Santa trivia for later because I wanted to see if it matched up with because clearly you know the real answers.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now that we know you were born on December 21st, what day does thoughtcatalog.com say Santa was born? What year? What was Santa born? That's what it says. What year was Santa born?
Well, first of all, Timothy, as we all know, I'm a tree spirit. So I wasn't really born as much as I.
But you just said you were born on the 21st of December.
No, I said it was
he has a birthday. He wasn't born.
Yeah, I didn't say I came out of the womb of a woman. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. I was a little acorn, or I guess a pine cone, really, and I sprouted up in the year, I guess it was like 40,000 BC or whatever you guys call it. It was a long time ago.
This says 270 AD.
What the fuck did people do for Christmas? And like the Egyptians, Timothy, like how the fucking Egyptians have Christmas if Santa Claus was born in 270 AD? Does that make any fucking sense?
I think Santa is a little more credible on this issue than
I agree.
Catalog.com.
Well, Thought Catalog, I'm willing to bet all of these are wrong. So
bullshit naughty editors, you'll get nothing but coal. Which is extra naughty in these days of global warming.
All right. All right. So, new death metal Xmas. We don't have to talk about it very long, but it's a new story, which is only available on Bandcamp.
Right? Because we like to serve the people well. You have to pay for it, Timothy?
It's free to stream, and it costs $1 to download.
So you cheap, naughty bastards better give us that $1. Please.
We have already made more from pre-orders on the story than we have that we're going to make on the songs for the next year.
Well, that's a plus. So one person bought it?
Santa, can you tell us about the charitable causes your 50 cents of each sale goes to?
Oh, that's a great question there, Kent or Doug, or I forgot what your name is. But I know how naughty you are, or nice. Anyway, so a lot of this goes to the home for elves that can't work no more. You see, there's lots of elves out there who Santa has run over with the sleigh, or fed to a reindeer, or who die and, well, not die because they're kind of immortal, but they get all mangled in the machinery and the mining and all the various things that Santa needs to do. So I use the 50 cents to help pay to lock up these elves in a place where Santa can't see them and their sad little faces. And then I guess they do something, like they eat each other or something. And then in a few years, they're reborn as new baby elves.
So it's a true black box kind of thing. You walk them in a black box,
green
and then
box,
something happens.
It's not really a box as much as it's like a big cement tube. And I drop them in, and I say, "See you later, Mr. Elf." And then they go, woo, boom, and then, something happens, and then a new baby elf is born, as far as I'm concerned.
So the story...
all right.
That's not the story?
No, the story is called HELFTER SHELFTER.
Mm-hmm.
And it's based on Elf on the Shelf. But it really happened.
But not based on it to the sense that there's any copyright infringement.
Correct.
Or any parody. It's definitely not a parody. Wait.
Speaking of licensing, all the songs are only available on streaming due to licensing, because they're all, you know how like bands will put out a Christmas album and it's all open source, non-copyrightable stuff. Well, this stuff is all copyrightable. We need to pay whoever bought up the rights to all those songs.
Greedy bastards.
So the 4 songs this year available wherever
I thought you were going to name the song.
Wherever you stream crap is Silver Bells.
Silver Bells.
Any comment on that one?
That's a pretty good song. Reminds me of bells. And silver,
all right,
I
then
guess.
All Alone on Christmas, which you might remember from Home Alone 2.
Yeah, no, Santa knows about being alone on Christmas. So oftentimes after I've done my, merciful errands, I come back to the old Santa house and Mrs. Claus has gone off to see her sister. And then all the elves are tired or sad about all the elves I put in that tube, and they don't want to talk to Santa Claus, and the reindeer are off like foraging or, getting food for their long journey and their winter's nap. So Santa Claus is there, in his Santa hat and his Santa coat, and he says, "What the fuck am I going to do?" And that's why I watch Home Alone and sing that song.
I'm glad you mentioned Santa hat. I actually have my Santa hat.
Well, it's just Santa hat.
I'm wondering if it's offensive for people who aren't Santa to wear a Santa hat.
I think it's offensive to have a longer tassel than Santa. What are you trying to imply?
Nothing. It's just a long tassel.
I mean, I wish you were more respectful like Doug down there. He knows that the Ravens' playoff chances are still alive. And so, he's representing his town.
The Ravens, by the way, we scored as the most medal NFL team in a previous episode.
I'm sure we scored the Lions okay, too.
We did.
So I'm going to tell the folks here on Woodward Avenue.
That's right.
I love that he knows what street he's on, Timothy.
This is the Woodward Avenue. Oh,
all right.
I'm fading.
Oh, no.
Don't fade out there.
Phase out of Detroit. All right. And then it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. What do you think of that one?
Well, I mean, Santa Claus loves Christmas, so that sounds like optimistic. But also, it's not Christmas, so it might be something of a sad song.
All right, and then finally, this was suggested to me by Matt, who couldn't be here tonight. But
Yeah, I don't know where that piece of shit is. Maybe he's like brushing his tights or combing his hair, or I don't know.
That's not what you said during the story.
Well, people's opinions change.
Well, Backdoor Santa, which is what Run DMC sampled for their song Christmas in Hollis. So maybe in the future we'll do Christmas in Hollis.
Yeah, because you could sample your own song, Timothy. How cool
Brilliant.
would that be? But yeah, Santa likes that. It's about a naughty little boy, who wants to give presents to all the girls and other girls in the neighborhood. And I guess he's a bit of a cocksmith, Timothy.
Yeah, and that's the album. So links are in the description.
No, but I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to post those. That's what the promo things.
No, that
said.
was a different thing.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Santa,
yep.
Some people say your whole operation is like a scam. And you've really been playing down what people should expect this year due to global market conditions.
Yeah, it's like the first thing you brought up.
The war in Ukraine, etc.
Yeah, you know how much of my raw materials come out of Russia, Douglas? It's a lot. There's a pretty tight squeeze going on. Santa can't run foul of OFAC in the European Union. That would ruin the whole operation.
What kind of trade agreements do you have in place? Like, I thought the elves made everything.
Well, they do, but it's, like Santa I can't grow tropical hardwoods in the goddamn North Pole. Like, I have to get materials.
So at what point in the manufacturing chain does the North Pole sit? Can you work with raw materials, or do you need to get like integrated circuits from...
Well, that's a great question, Timothy, and it really depends. Like, we're really good at like taking components manufactured elsewhere and then assembling them. So if you notice, it really depends on like an item. Like, we could make a wooden train or a teddy bear pretty easily, except we couldn't have the wood or the materials for the bear. But we could pack it full of snow. So we have to get all the materials and bring them to the North Pole, and then the elves got to put them together. And if Santa can get a deal with a friendly company or country to provide like a nearly finished thing, we just like polish it up, put it in a box, and get it on the old sleigh.
All right.
So Santa, I'm sure you had deep concerns about the World Cup, right? And all the stuff happening in Qatar.
Yeah, that was a great operation. I was really impressed how much they were able to do. And I was like, this reminds me of the way Santa gets things done, and I think I'm getting a lot of pointers from that.
You spoke to COLA adjustments for the elves, which seems ridiculous because everything I've read says the elves are way overpaid.
Well, that's what Santa says. But unfortunately, there's some do-batters, as I like to call them, some naughty Nellies, who say Santa, just because we're elves and we don't sleep or eat, doesn't mean we shouldn't get 5-minute breaks every 47 hours of work. And I said, look here, you little piece of shit. Santa will tell you when you can work, and Santa will tell you when you can't. And so we negotiated, and they did like a little work slowdown where they're only making several billion toys an hour. And so I said, okay, you got Santa by the old Santa balls, so I'll give you 3 minutes for every 79 hours of work. And they were satisfied. We all had cocoa. Well, Santa had cocoa, and they got to watch me drink it.
Yeah, I hear their union's pretty weak.
Oh, yeah, I mean, they're fucking little elves, you can squish them with your foot.
All right, I got another country for you.
All right.
The second most listeners of this podcast are in Germany.
Oh, Well, it's a fairly nice, well, now, a pretty nice country. I mean, we don't need to delve into the people's naughty pasts. I would say out of the 28 countries in the European Union, it's definitely top 20.
All right. All right. I'm going to bounce back and forth between countries and trivia until Doug interrupts with something with more substance. What soft drink company was the first to use Santa Claus in its advertising?
Well, I mean, I think you misread the question there, Timothy.
Oh, yeah?
So the real question is, what soft drink company was Santa's first to use to promote his propaganda? And the answer is the Coca-Cola Company.
This says White Rock Beverages.
Well, that's fucking bullshit. Who's ever heard of White Rock Beverages? That sounds like a piece of shit. Hey, could I grab a White Rock beverage? No, fuck that. I want a Coca-fucking-Cola. And me and the polar bears. All the people singing in that field, we all got together and said, Coke is it. Bill Cosby was there, but we don't talk about him much anymore. But yeah, so we all got together and said Coke is Santa colored. And if people need to think about Santa outside the immediate Christmas season, why don't they just grab a Coke and have a smile and be good and nice?
So you approached Coca-Cola.
I said, hey there, guy in Coca-Cola land, Atlanta, Georgia, I believe. Don't you want to help out old Santa Claus? I know you've been doing some pretty naughty things that if you help Santa out, maybe Santa looks the other way when it's Christmas time. Wink, wink.
You mentioned polar bears. Are they part of your operation?
Well, they are, except, the whole North Pole is melting. So it's a lot harder to get them involved. But, I still, use them to, weirdly, I don't want to go too deep into this, but Santa hates seals, Timothy. And there's nothing worse than a bunch of seals hanging around the workshop. So often, Santa says, hey there, polar bear, if you catch a leopard seal or a monk seal, you get to eat it. And they agree. And if there's not enough seals, every once in a while, I'll throw them an elf. And they don't really know the difference.
So, Santa, a lot of people are talking about your opposition to transferring the United States transferring Patriot missile batteries to Ukraine, which seems like an awful specific thing for you to have an opinion on.
Well, Douglas, if I can call you that.
If I can pile on, the U.S. has also been involved with radar stations historically in the high north, like in Greenland and northern Canada. So is that did you take you famously didn't take a stance on those, but now you're taking a stance on Ukraine. So explain yourself.
Well, I'm going to say this once and say it in the camera like this. It's like, maybe if you were flying around in a non-transpondered vehicle that sparks out little flares of light on a certain night in the year, you'd be really concerned about any kind of surface-to-air defense. You think it's a fucking coincidence that NORAD tracks Santa? It's a fucking reciprocity. I just snap my fingers and the whole network goes down. And Santa doesn't need a bunch of people. No offense. I mean, people want to be free, but you don't want to be shooting down Santa Claus. And, the less Santa has to worry about these things, the better. I'm not opposed to self-defense per se. I mean, think of all the wars Santa has started. Well, don't think about those. But, Santa's protection is the protection of freedom and happiness in the world. And if I'm not safe flying around, whether it's over Ukraine or Iran or, I don't know, Chad, for example, then what's Santa going to do? Just skip that country? That seems inappropriate. And fuck you for asking, Doug.
Well, Santa, I appreciate the candor of your answer. And I just want to give you an opportunity, something that's been discussed in the media and all recently, are the photos that surfaced of you and Patriarch Kirill of the Russian Orthodox Church in Crimea. I think it was a few summers ago. You haven't commented publicly on this. Do you have anything to say?
Well, okay. Number one, everyone deserves a vacation. And what Santa does at non-Santa times is Santa's own business. And number two, and I don't want to be too pedantic, but if Santa was just walking around without other people who kind of look like Santa, then, you know, it would be very obvious where Santa is. But if I'm hanging out with Orthodox patriarchs or members of the Taliban, not that I've done that, but, you know, Santa can kind of go incognito, maybe from the back or the side. Is that some Orthodox prelate, or is it old Saint Nick? I don't know. You know, I can't go to like a Jain monk convention. You know, that wouldn't make sense. But, you know, bearded, stout people who wear flowy robes, you know, maybe it just makes fucking sense, Doug.
Anna, you seem to be phasing in and out of existence.
Well, that's because when Santa gets angry, he just can barely contain his corporeal form. Like, you think this is what I choose to be? This is how the universe makes me. This is, you know, what people wish Santa looked like, so I have to manifest like that. I would much rather like it back in the day when I could be like my true form, like with all the wings and fangs. That would be really great, but because of this fucking modernity, I have to be a kindly old bearded man.
So is it true that there's a yacht on your wish list?
Well, I mean, define true, Doug. I mean, I have a yacht. That's not really anyone's business. I have a sleigh. I have a workshop. I have hundreds of thousands of pounds of gold. I mean, this is not on trial here. I'm Santa Claus. I'm the good guy.
Now, there was a very nice English captain who, your name, actually, he completely denied your association with a yacht that's in the possession of the Italian government, I believe.
Well, that could be anybody's yacht, Doug. I don't know, you know. What was that yacht even doing in Italy? That's pretty far from the North Pole. It would take Santa like minutes to fly down there.
Now, everyone's been talking about the forest green and red color scheme.
Well, I mean, lots of people like red, lots of people like green. You know, maybe they were a fan of, I don't know, AC Milan or something.
So the reindeer landing pad. You have no association with this yacht.
I mean, again, you know, I don't need to tell you that there's other people in the world who fly on reindeer-driven sleighs. Like, I can think of at least 4, and only 2 of those are Santa Claus. So, you know, I think everyone needs to calm down, you know, and not worry about things that don't directly relate to the presents they get for being naughty or nice at Christmas time.
So there's no truth to the rumor that this is part of your plan to abandon the North Pole as it's melting and relocate to the South Pole?
Well, as I told the conference of the parties in Sharm el-Sheikh this year, Timothy, you know, Santa Claus is very much invested in his North Pole base. And if we can't get climate change, thank you for your question, if we can't get climate change under control, Santa will have to consider taking over maybe a desert or, God forbid, the moon.
I know importation of Russian oil has been a topic related to the North Pole for many years now. You've committed to cutting down, but refused to release numbers for the last 2 years.
Well, Doug, I mean, first of all, Santa Claus is the true sovereign of the Arctic Circle, so really that's Russia claiming my oil. And just because Santa doesn't have drills and refineries doesn't mean I shouldn't benefit from something that, by all rights, is mine. So no, I'm not the fucking Pope or some other person who hides behind phony baloney international law. Santa's a realist, and Santa needs what he needs to ensure that boys and girls and everyone else gets good presents for being nice and bad, disappointing socks for being naughty. That's Santa's bottom line. And your workaday world concerns, I'm sure they're important to you and other non-Santa people. But for me, I have one mission and one mission only. That's to make material things to reward moral acts.
Well, and since you mentioned it, Santa, your ongoing feud with the Pope has been on the front page of Catholic Review for months now.
I mean, he said, and I'll quote him here, he said, "There's a reason for the season." And his next word wasn't Santa Claus. I mean, this guy's been spreading bullshit propaganda about what Christmas means for years. And frankly, as Santa, I'm sick of it. It's about presents and trees, and occasionally eggnog. That's it. That other guy, he was born in May or something. I was there.
Question from my trivia list here. What do Swedish children leave for Santa Claus?
What do Swedish? Well, it's not fish. I know that. What does Swedish is it some kind of egg-based tart?
It is not egg-based, and it's not a tart.
Okay.
I thought Santa was something you sort of ward away in Sweden. Don't you take a more troll-like form out there?
Well, sometimes if I need to, I have been known to eat some raw fish. No, what's the answer to the,
all right, I'll tell you the answer and you tell me if it's right. It says coffee.
Well, yeah, of course, because it's so dark up there, and I have a lot of work to do. What's fucking more inconvenient than eating milk and drinking cookies? It gets you sleepy. So at least the fucking Swedes who understand a thing or two about a thing or two know that Santa needs to be high energy and keep on moving. And also, if you realize it, Sweden is very close to the North Pole, so when I'm there, I'm just starting out. That's why New Zealanders give me tequila shots, or some nice melatonin gummies, because it's almost time for Santa to hit the old hay.
So is the U.S. and Canadian children giving you milk and cookies, is that counterproductive?
Well, I mean, it would be. Hell, frankly, it is. I don't like to spread this knowledge around, Timothy, but I have a fatal lactose allergy.
Oh, what? So, in the Santa Claus, when Tim Allen tells that little girl after he murdered Santa and stole his clothes, maybe we should talk about some of these movies.
We should talk about Santa Claus, because Santa has a lot of opinions about that movie. That's anti-Santite propaganda.
He tells the little girl he's lactose intolerant. She remembers the next year and gives him soy milk.
Right. Do you know how much money Santa had to pay to all these greedy Hollywood producers to slip that in? And you know who got the hint? Nobody. Not even the actress who played that fucking little girl. And so Santa's, that's why you don't always get your presents in time, because poor Santa's guts are hurting. He's got the gut bubbles, as they say, flying across the sky near the speed of light.
That little girl's got to be 30
the toilet,
now.
Which we already established earlier.
How old is the little girl from the Santa Claus?
Now,
the actress.
I'm gonna have to. Well, Santa's not really good with human years, Timothy, but I'm gonna have to say she's 80.
Wow, Judge Reinhold looks surprising.
Now there's a nice gentleman. Santa gives him a lot of stuff in his old Santa stocking.
So Santa, for nearly 20 years now, you've been steadfast in your opposition to renewal of the assault weapons ban in the United States. I just isn't that position becoming increasingly untenable for you?
Well, Doug, Santa's not in the position of saying what boys and girls want for Christmas. And in fact, Santa believes that if you have a constitutional right to something, then you should very much be able to ask it for Christmas. Santa's not a legislator. Santa's not a person here asking what's right and wrong and not judging people based on their behavior. Santa is a businessman in a way. And my business is the business of charity. So if good boys and girls want a AR-15, which is not an assault rifle, by the way, that's a meaningless term. You can go anywhere and look up an assault. You can't find what that means anywhere. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Santa gives people what they want. If little boys and girls want assault rifles, then Santa gives them to them. Just like if they want, little, social justice comic books, Santa gives them those. I'm not here to judge you on your beliefs or behaviors. I'm here to judge you on your beliefs and behaviors.
And you continue to be unconcerned with the increasing flow of elf money into the elections of the United States?
Well, Santa's bottom line is Santa's bottom line. And I believe some very nice gentlemen and a lady or two at the Supreme Court recognize that, you don't have to be a human being to be a people. Santa Claus isn't a human being, but Santa Claus is a people. Santa Claus isn't a citizen of the United States or any country, and yet Santa has a right to interfere with the elections of all the countries in the world to ensure that the world is safe for Santocracy and nice boys and girls and working against the naughty ones.
But isn't that action in itself naughty?
No, because how could something that promotes nice boys and girls be naughty, Timothy? That doesn't make any damn sense.
So the actress who played the little girl, who's cast as little girl, her name is Melissa King, and she is 35.
Wow, that's a little off from Santa's guess of 80, but not too bad, I guess.
Now, has she been naughty this year?
She's just happy to be working. No,
I don't know if she's working anymore.
Well, I didn't mean acting. I meant working. She works at Ames Drugs, I believe. And she's, stocking the shelves with wrapping paper and cocoa mix. And everyone
What if I told you she's from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada?
Well, that's pretty great. It's one of the good suburbs of Toronto. Santa spent a lot of time in Mississauga once upon a time.
I thought Canada was naughty.
Well, that doesn't mean I don't spend time there. Like, I need to study naughty children to find out what they're about. Like, how do you think Santa Claus determines what's nice and naughty these days? I have to go and see children doing what they do. And that's how Santa gets the evidence-based material to determine who's naughty and who's nice. It's not just my subjective opinion. It's objective, like your medal reviews of sports and music, and, food. I think you did food at some point.
So, Santa, while we're talking about evidence-based, for 50 years now, you've been very clear on your opposition to any even testing of a universal minimum income.
Well,
I just want to give you the platform to go on the record as to why.
Okay, well, number one, Santa Claus is a believer in incentives. Why do I give naughty boys and girls presents? To encourage them to be good. And why do I give naughty boys and girls worse, shitty presents? It's to encourage them to stop being bad. And if everyone got a basic package of presents, whether they were good or bad, society would just crumble. There's no such thing as universal basic presents. And what is income but a present that rich people give the poor? It's very Santa-like if you think about it. So, we shouldn't be interfering with good, nice business people and taking their money and taxes away. We should just let people do what they want to do. And if you want to give them a universal basic income, Santa can kick your universal basic ass. Uh-huh.
Well, that was clear.
Yeah, fucking right, it's clear, Doug. And I'm a little sick of your tone.
I just don't like anyone who encourages dependency. But
well, you know what?
Santa
doesn't encourage dependency. Santa encourages self-reliance. You know, no one can make you naughty or nice but you, and maybe your parents and community. But you know, whether you're naughty or nice, Santa cares, and Santa wants to encourage you to be nice or naughty, because honestly, I can't make toys for everybody. So, you know, there's a fine balance. We need
especially not the good folks at Detroit, right?
Look, Doug, we've already covered the Detroit question. What road are you on again?
This is Woodward Avenue. And
yeah, Woodward Avenue. I'm
here at dusk, and there's nobody around.
Yeah, because they're all waiting
you
for
did
Santa.
This. This is you.
No, I'm barely responsible for that, Doug.
You're going to make Santa rage quit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like this hardball, softball
I know.
thing we got going.
I think it's time for a softball question, Timothy.
Softball question. How accurate is Clement Clark Moore's poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas?
Well,
you know, a right jolly old elf, blah, 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 all that stuff.
I mean, I'm not an elf per se, but I'm right and jolly. And he got most of the reindeer's names right, but he missed Melinda and Joe. I think that's one of them. You know, I do shake like a bowl full of jelly. So I'm going to give him, I don't know, 9 out of 10. You know, a lot of that stuff is kind of made up. But I do like to whip animals. So that's there. And I do go to the top of the porch like a Flash or something. You know, I do all those things. Maybe not at the same time. You know, it's like when you watch reality TV, they said all those things, but they didn't necessarily say them in the sequence that you're seeing them.
Okay, well, let's go point by point. Is it a miniature sleigh with 8 or so tiny reindeer?
I think. What's his name again? Cedric Silver,
Clement Clark Moore.
Yeah, Cedric. I think he's just dumb and doesn't understand that when things are far away, they're small. When they're close up,
he was born in the 18th century, so
yeah, he's a dumb piece of shit. So you know, they're regular size. You know, Santa's a regular size, man-sized thing. Look at that. Woo. Yeah. So that's false. That's fake news.
Now, do you whistle and then shout and then call them by name?
I do all those things. I whistle and shout and call them by name. I do that. That's correct. On Dasher and Dander and Candy and Collar, on Cotter and Billy and Sanders and Solar. Yeah, I know all that. Yeah, that's right.
Now, when you come down the chimney, do you do it in a single bound?
Sometimes, although, you know, frankly, there's a lot less chimneys around these days. But if there is a chimney, I will go down in a single bound or two, depending on, you know, what part of the night it is and how well it's been cleaned.
It also says here is clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. So was this just a product of the time before they?
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, it's like Dickens, you know. It's not the fact that everything is always bleak and covered in soot, but yeah, no, back in the day when people were burning coal, I mean, we burn coal now, but not in our homes. Yeah, there was lots of ashes and soot. You know, Santa's laundry bills were out of the roof.
Is it insulting that he called you he said you look like a peddler just opening his pack?
I mean, that seemed a little insulting. I don't ride a bicycle, Timothy. I ride a fucking sleigh. So I don't know where the whole peddler thing came from. But yeah, I guess you could say that, maybe.
Okay. I'm going to read you a big chunk of it.
Okay.
Well, the description.
Mhm.
I want you to react to each line.
Okay.
His eyes, how they twinkled. His dimples, how merry. What do you think of that?
I mean, yeah, true.
See dimples? You got that
Guilty.
beard.
Guilty, Timothy. Look at these little guys right here.
His cheeks were like roses. His nose like a cherry.
Look, Santa has a cherry here, right here. You can compare it. No, I can't tell which is which.
His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow.
Oh, see what?
Again, I feel like the beard's in the way.
Yep, no, I mean,
How did he see all this?
So Santa had a shorter beard. It was 200 years ago, Timothy.
Okay. And the beard on his chin was as white as the snow.
I mean, all you have to do is look at the snow behind me here, the North
Looks
Pole,
whiter
and
than
see
the
my
snow.
beard. I mean,
So, did your beard get whiter or did the snow get darker?
well, maybe both.
The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth. Do you still smoke?
Oh, I do not smoke anymore, Timothy. I only use smokeless tobacco. Like Snucks. Snucks, is that what it's called? I think that's what I use.
And the
My
smoke
Swedish friends got me on it.
and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. When you did smoke,
When
Did
I
you
did
make
smoke, it
wreaths?
would do that. Yeah.
okay, he had a broad face and a little round belly.
No, I mean, yeah, I would. Again, it was 200 years ago, Timothy. Portions were smaller. But yeah, I would say that's fairly accurate for the time.
That shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. We already addressed that one.
We covered that.
You
We
were-
covered that already.
He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf.
Well, except the elf part, no, but everything else, guilty. That's Santa Claus to a T.
All right, now this next line. And I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. How did you feel
Well-
about getting laughed at as you were performing your duties?
Well, Timothy, if you know the rest of the poem like I do, you'll notice that Santa didn't leave any presents in this story.
Well, let's see.
He just
You
kind of
opened
laughed.
Hang on, you opened your pack, right? And then he laughed at you, all right? And then it says, with a wink of an eye of his eye and a twist of his head, soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk.
Yeah.
So you filled the stockings still.
Yeah, but I picked him up. Okay, so let me break it down for you. So he's laughing at me.
Right.
And then, I kind of give him like the fuck off eyes. And I guess he clearly misinterpreted it. So then I purposely filled everyone's stocking, but he didn't notice I had ripped his down. And then I got him by the shoulder here and I was like, how's it going? I turned around quickly. And then I flew up the fucking chimney and left him.
After
left him
laying
there.
your finger aside of your
Yep.
nose. Now, does that help
Yeah, I
you
was
fly?
like, fuck you.
Oh, it was a fuck you.
Fuck you.
And giving a nod up the chimney, he rose. He sprang to his sleigh. To his team gave a whistle, and then they all flew like the down of a thistle.
Now again, I have never seen a down of a thistle fly. I think we flew like a fucking sleigh pulled by a reindeer, personally. But I'm not here to critique his shitty artistic work.
I'm glad to know some of the. I'm glad this is clearer now.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm gonna explain this to the kids when I read it to them.
You should.
this year.
You really should, or you could play them this interview.
And Santa, on that note, I think when we spoke last year, you didn't have too much to say about Black Peter, who people are saying you canceled back in 2018.
Well, Peter, as I like to call him, is just one of Santa's many helpers, and it's part of the process, in some countries. Santa has different helpers than others, and so I had a helper named Peter. Other people called him other things, and he helped me. But Santa changes with the times, and I suggested that he go work for the Easter Bunny, and I believe he still does. That's just life. You can't even the greatest bands change personnel. Like, accidents happen, people change. And it's sad when people you worked with no longer work with you. But that doesn't mean you don't appreciate the work they did.
You don't miss your yearly boat trips back to a beach in Spain.
Well, I still take the boat trips. I mean, he's still my friend. I just don't happen to work with him anymore. Is that so hard to understand? Santa's a media savvy individual, and yeah, it's not appropriate these days for me to be hanging out with Pete like I used to. But that doesn't mean I have to negate Pete the person or the spirit. I don't really remember what he is. But yeah, we go to the beach, we have fun. But that doesn't mean that his image was good. What about fucking Jerry Lewis? The French people think he was a genius, but he definitely did some inappropriate things. Should we let that bad choice taint a whole band's career? Probably. But who am I to say?
So the woke mob has canceled you, is what you're saying.
No, I'm not. Santa's not saying that. Santa can't be canceled. Santa is uncancelable. But Santa knows. Someone used to say something like that. I wonder who it was. Santa knows that Santa, to be eternal, like Santa, you have to change like the mighty ocean, always moving and yet always the same. So really, I didn't do anything. You did. People like you, Doug, asking inappropriate questions at inappropriate times.
You're just out there in Spain, flapping in the wind.
Mm-hmm. No, he's not flapping in the wind. He's enjoying a Mai Tai and eating some paella, and having a jolly good time. And every, February, I trundle down there and, dab him up and say, hey, how's it going, man? And he says, pretty good, Santa. I'm glad you put me on retainer. And I say, yeah, it's the least I could do. You're a big help. And now you're an inconvenience. I take care of people. I'm Santa Claus.
All right. Well, this sounds like bullshit to me, but go on, Tim.
What's your stance on re-gifting?
There's two minds about it. Number one, never re-gift a Santa Claus gift. Those have been chosen especially for you. So if you get a gift from Santa Claus, please keep it. And if you don't like it, maybe think, what did I do to deserve a gift I didn't like? That's a lesson. But, if your wife or girlfriend or mom or dad or kids give you something that's garbage, feel free to pass the misery along.
It's interesting you didn't mention husband in there. It's like you're canceling men.
No, I said I'm a husband. Spouse, how's that? Your spouse, your partner even. Santa Claus doesn't care what you do in your bed as long as you're sleeping.
What about polyamorous?
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't...
Because you use the singular. Sorry, I shouldn't be the hardball.
Yeah, you're really messing up the whole fucking gimmick, Timothy. But yeah, no, as long as it didn't come from Santa Claus. Now, what happens if Santa Claus is your partner? Like, what if Mrs. Claus gets a gift from Santa Claus that she doesn't like? Could she re-gift it? Possibly. But that's the only exception, unless you're one of the women or men with whom I have my many affairs.
Does Black Peter get a gift receipt or not?
No, he does. He gets cash on the nail.
If he
which I think is a reference to Judas. Now that I think about it,
what currency do you give him money in?
Oh, I give him a gold. Gold doubloons. I take them up from shipwrecks. That's one of the things Santa does in the off season. I find shipwrecks and get all the gold. I don't have foreign currency reserves, So I got a lot of stuff to pay for: gold, diamonds, gemeralds.
All right, so it says here in 1982, Canada Post assigned Santa the postal code of it's Canada, so they can have letters H0H0H0. So ho ho ho.
Oh, that's pretty clever.
So if you so you can address a letter to Santa Claus, North Pole, ho ho ho, Canada. Does that imply that there is a Canadian post office at the North Pole, and is it staffed by a human or elves or a polar bear?
Okay. This is a great question, Timothy. And you know what? I thank you for being a real journalist, unlike other people here. But no, that doesn't go directly to Santa. But what happens is the good people at the Canadian Post Office, like many countries around the world, take those letters and then send them via a facsimile machine to the North Pole. So it's not like, because obviously there's lots of people and interests out there who might want to harm Santa. So if I had a very, very easily findable place with employees, especially Canadian employees who are blabbermouths, it's well known. You know, if there were elves there, or even, God forbid, Santa himself there, like that would not work. Instead, there's an encrypted fax machine that they just scan these letters and send them to my representative, who then sends them to another representative, and ultimately they get to Santa. Where
So
an elf
you're
will read
denying
them.
Fax.
there's any kind of kickback from Canada Post? Because the good kids of Mobile, Alabama, or Gary, Indiana, have to pay foreign stamp costs to get a letter to Santa.
No, Douglas. I mean, you could send it via the U.S. mail. You could send
At
it.
what cost?
It's $1.40 to get
I don't know
an
how much a
international
fucking stamp
stamp.
is these days. No. There's like a Santa Claus U.S. address. You can just Google this.
It's interesting you have to Google it, Santa.
Well, I don't send me letters. All right, look. You can send a letter to 123 Elf Road, North Pole, H, you know, and that will get to Santa through the regular U.S. mail. It's the same fucking system. I have lots of these things set up. So yeah, the Canadian one's a lot more clever, but that's Canada. I mean,
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it gets to me, but it doesn't go to me. I will get the message. An elf will read it. I'll get a general gist, but I'm not fucking sorting through your goddamn letters, you greedy pieces of shit. I'm busy.
All
I
right,
got the operation to think of.
All right, calm down, Santa. I have a gift-giving question for you.
Okay, all right.
All right, according to these historical Christmas facts, the people of London receive a tree for Trafalgar Square from the people of Oslo, Norway, every year to thank them for their assistance during World War II.
Yep, that's true.
Considering World War II is getting ever more distant, when is enough trees for them to consider the debt repaid?
And Santa, I'm just going to ask it out loud, but which side did you fight for during the Second World War?
I think I can answer that. Both of them.
Yeah, Santa doesn't pick sides, you know. Santa, again, I don't hate...
You just took that Norwegian gold, didn't you?
Well, somebody needed to hold on to it, Doug. You didn't want it to end up with the Nazis. Yeah. So what? Sue me, but don't sue me. And you can't. I'm not a human. Anyway, to answer your question, Timothy, as long as you are celebrating Santa Claus, never is enough. Even if this goes on for 1,000 years, I think one more year would be more than appropriate. And to answer your question, Doug, Santa Claus isn't about winners and losers. Santa Claus is about naughty and nice. And one of the conceits of Santa is that even in the most naughty places, a hope of niceness can prevail. And so for that reason, Santa Claus maintains absolute neutrality. And
You
people
weren't
get
very
presents.
nice to the folks of the United Kingdom until about 1960.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, of course. They played ball with Santa, and Santa plays ball with you. I mean, what's so hard about that? If you're going to fire Patriot missiles at Santa, maybe you will stop getting presents. It's not safe. But as long as you keep Santa in the bread and cookie business, Santa will keep you in the present business. It's very binary. It's very straightforward. I don't understand why you're making things so complicated.
Just sounds like a racket to me, but what do I know?
Ho ho. I forgot I should ho every once in a while. Ho ho.
Yeah, well, this interview seems to be upsetting you.
No, I mean, I feel like these lights are 1,000 degrees, Timothy. I don't even know I agreed to do this.
All right, here's a question. Again, according to this. Leaving food for Santa originated with Norse children who left food out for Odin's eight-legged horse Sleipnir.
Oh,
Dutch
Sleipnir
children
was
left
really cool.
Dutch children left food in their wooden shoes for St. Nicholas's horse, although historically there is no mention of St. Nick having a horse. Now, American children leave cookies and milk for Santa. Other children around the world leave hay, carrots, and water for Santa's reindeer. So I guess my question is, have you met Odin and or Sleipnir?
Well,
how do the reindeer feel about eating out of Dutch children's wooden shoes that they think is for a horse? And
he doesn't care.
no, I do care. I care about the reindeer. I appreciate that people think about feeding the reindeer or Sleipnir, the horse. Odin's a really nice guy. Santa and Odin have partied. How do you think? How do you think he lost that eye, Timothy? Yeah. So I will be crystal clear. I haven't always used reindeer, and I have occasionally borrowed Sleipnir when I needed to. Is that such a crime? And as for the feed the reindeer, Santa's just one little guy, and I got 8 hungry mouths to feed as we go across the fucking goddamn world. So yeah, I wish people in the United States were a little more considerate, like all these Dutch children. Well, except maybe not putting in your goddamn shoes. I don't know what that's about.
So how much horse meat is on Santa's dinner table each year?
Well, I mean, that's really a question of how many people are over, Doug.
I've eaten horse, but we're going to save that for Food Month.
Santa has too.
All right. I think
I Sleipnired well that night, Tim.
Jeez. I think we've tortured the poor man long enough.
Yep. Thank you, Timothy. You're very nice. And I'll make sure that you and your children get a little extra thing in your wooden shoes on Christmas morning.
We don't have wooden shoes. We're not Dutch.
You better get some, because that's the only way you're getting extra things.
All right.
And
well, do you have any closing statements?
Yeah. Safe travels, Santa.
Thank you, Doug. I know that you've asked Santa a lot of naughty questions, but I know that in your misguided little heart, you're doing it for the right reasons. And just know that even though Santa will give you no presents, and in fact not give any presents to anyone in your city or town, I will remember you on Christmas Day and think there's a little boy in Bakersfield who one day might realize that Santa's pretty nice.
Well, personally, I have full confidence in the accuracy of the Patriot missile systems and the intelligence of the United States and its allies. So you have nothing to worry about.
Well, thank you, Doug.
Santa, I just want to remind you that per your contract, we have to talk next year as well.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Keep thinking of those questions, Doug. And Timothy, please double up on the softballs.
All right, do you want to send us out, Santa?
All right, okay, boys and girls, be naughty. No, wait, shit, fuck, hold on. Be nice, don't be naughty. That's the first thing. Second thing is cookies and milk are fine, but, switch it up. Hay, oats, carrots. Santa Claus likes a carrot every once in a while. Number 3.
Now he does.
Shut up, Doug. Number 3. Number 3, don't let politicians take your freedom. There's lots of people out there trying to change the world too fast, and that's fine. But if you lose your freedom, that's a gift Santa can't give you back. And as for all the other stuff, Santa's just joking. It was all a big funny joke. And, Doug's in on it. He's actually nice, and his questions weren't real, and all of Santa's answers were comedic. Nothing is wrong. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, and let's stop asking hard questions.
Cast him down.
Santa, I've given you my Venmo handle, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, don't worry, Doug. I'm going to push send as soon as Tim stops the recording.